customary address, which the two instances happened. One is in Tamil Nadu and another one is in Kerala. Okay. Here in one instance where governor of Tamil Nadu decided not to read the customary address. In one instance in Kerala, the governor altered the policy address, means he altered the speech and made some own speech. So this is two instances where the issue has been arised. Okay, let's see what is customary address first and let's discuss the issue. Okay, the first is the Article 176. Article 176 mandates the governor to read customary address. Before that, it mandates the governor to address the house or legislature of the state. Okay, now it says that governor should address the house after the first election. After the first election to the legislature, there will be a session. Okay, now governor has to address that particular session. This is one instance, and second instance, governor should address the session, means the house, after the first session of the year, the first session of that particular year. In these two instances, governor should address the house and also read the policy matters provided by the cabinet. Okay, cabinet, according to Article 163, governor should act in the manner advised by the cabinet, means the council of ministers. Okay, now Article 163 says that there should be a council of ministers to aid and advise the governor, and governor should act accordance with this particular advice tendered by the council of ministers. In this case, it is customary address by the governor according to Article 176, and he should read the policy provided by the cabinet, means the council of ministers. It is adopted by the India from the UK system, where the queen addresses, means our king or queen addresses the parliament. Okay, now but here the issue arises whether a governor or the president can skip the session or can skip the reading or can alter the speech. He can write off any speech and he can make his own speech. Is it possible? Yes. It is not illegal according to some instances, which such instances already happened previously. So because of that reason, we know that it is not illegal. It can be done. So governor can skip the reading and also he can walk out. So without reading the policy issues provided by the council of ministers in this particular case. So in this particular speech provided by the council of ministers or the cabinet, there will be a policy issues. This particular speech contains the future policies, already the achievements of the government in the previous years, let's say for example 3 years or 4 years, 5 years. So in that particular case, governor has to read to make a statement that people of the state, in case of president, people of the nation should know that what government have done previously and what is government is going to do in the future years. These are the policy issues which can be mentioned in the speech, but governor can walk out, and also governor can write off some paragraphs or some sentences. He can make his own sentences. But the constitutionally, the council of ministers, the cabinet should prepare the speech. Should prepare the speech and governor should read it. But if governor walks out without reading or governor writes of any of the paragraphs, it is considered as procedure illegality, procedure irregularity, but it should not considered as unconstitutional. It should not be considered as an illegal act. This is with respect to customary address by the governor. And in Supreme Court case in Shamsher Singh versus State of Punjab, in this particular case, Supreme Court asserted that governor should act according to the advice tendered by the Council of Ministers. He should not act according to his own discretion. But Article 163 says that governor should act in accordance with the advice tendered by the Council of Ministers, except in cases of in his own discretion. And also Article 163 says that what is the discretion of the governor? The discretionary acts of the government decided by the governor itself. His decision with respect to discretionary functions of the governor is final and should not be questioned in any court. And what are the discretionary functions? These functions decided by the governor, and his decision is final and it should not be questioned in any court of law. It is mentioned in the Article 163. Because of that reason, there will always be a conflict between Council of Ministers and the governor. Okay, this is the issue which has been mentioned in this particular article. Because of that reason, there are two instances where in one state, R.N. Ravi, the governor of Tamil Nadu, decided to walk out without reading the policy issue, and in other case where governor altered the policy, which we can say that these are two instances. These are irregularities, but not illegal. I can say that it is not unconstitutional, but it is a procedure irregularity. Okay, na? Procedure irregularities. Okay, this is with respect to first two articles which are appeared in the first page. Okay, and we are jumping into the next article. This is again with respect to Kerala and Tamil Nadu, where both the states appealed in the Supreme Court with respect to whether enforcement director is a juristic person or not. Before discussing what is in the article, first discuss what is juristic person, and let's delve into this particular article. Okay, do you have any idea what is juristic person? Okay, let's juristic person is nothing but a non-human entity but treated as a human. It is a non-human entity but treated as a human for the purpose of legal process. There will be a legal procedure. So in that legal procedure, a non-human entity, for example rivers, a god, a temple, or even say for example which are corporations, can be treated as a humans for the purpose of legal procedure. In this particular, there will be a legal persons. In legal procedure, there will be a legal persons. These legal persons are two kinds. One is human, another one is non-human. This human is considered as a natural. This non-human entity is considered as a juristic person. This natural person and non-human is considered as a juristic person. This is treated as a legal person for the purpose of legal procedure in this particular country. These can be gods, rivers, corporations and animals. Some of the high courts and supreme courts have made that certain gods, rivers are the juristic person. Okay, na? Let's say for example in Bishwant and Thakur Radha Ballabji, in this particular case court stated that devotee can be juristic person. Even in the case of the Ayodhya case, right? Ayodhya case, Supreme Court said that Rama is a juristic person. Rama is God here, but he can be a juristic person. He is a non-human entity where he considered as human for the purpose of legal procedure. Okay, in this particular case, so Bishwant, in this particular case, Supreme Court said that devotee means God can be a juristic person, but devotee can move a court on behalf of that particular god. Okay, if the management, a temple management will be there, if it's not taking your temple, okay, it's not managing the temple management properly. In that particular case, a devotee can move to the court on behalf of God by saying that management is not taking the temple properly. So this is one case. And also in Punjab High Court, said that animals can be a juristic person. He can be a non-human legal entity, okay, legal person, okay. And High Court, Uttarakhand High Court, in few years back, I think 2-3 years back, he said that river has a legal status. River can also be a juristic person. Okay, na? You got an idea, right? So this is with respect to juristic person. Now, what was the issue here in this particular article is that both Tamil Nadu and Kerala moved to Supreme Court to decide that whether enforcement director is a juristic person or not. Because why such an issue arised is because that ED, Enforcement Directorate, filed a case against both Tamil Nadu and Kerala in respect to High Courts. Case filed in respect to High Courts against Tamil Nadu and Kerala. For example, ED filed a case, writ petition, against Kerala government in Kerala High Court. And again, ED filed a case against Tamil Nadu government and in the Madras High Court to act against the illegal mining. And the case is that Tamil Nadu government is not acting against the illegal mining in the state. Now, Enforcement Directorate now filed mandamus. What is mandamus? It is asking the higher court to give order to the lower authorities, lower administratives, even lower courts to act on such actions, certain cases, where authorities, even governments or administrators are not taking any action against the such cases. Okay, na? Here, Enforcement Director says that illegal mining is happening in Tamil Nadu and Tamil Nadu government is not acting against such cases. So you should direct the Tamil Nadu government to take action against the illegal mining in the state. And this is, and again in this particular case, Enforcement Directorate went against the Kerala government in Kerala High Court. What is the case? Kerala government in 2021 appointed a commission of inquiry. That was commission of inquiry to inquire against some political cases where there was a audio file, whether that audio file is belong to some political conspiracy or not. To investigate that, Kerala government appointed a commission of inquiry. So now Enforcement Director filed that particular writ petition in the Kerala High Court against that particular commission of inquiry. These are the cases. But what are the arguments of this particular two states against the particular Enforcement Director? For example, Tamil Nadu High Court says that Enforcement Directorate doesn't have such authority, doesn't have such power to file a writ petition in the High Courts by using Article 226. Okay, na? So any person, any individual, let's say a natural human, can go against the state or any other person if at that particular organization or state violates fundamental right of that particular individual, right? If any fundamental rights violated, I and or you can go High Court by using Article 226 to file a writ petition. Okay, na? This is the procedure. Now both states argue that since Enforcement Director is not a natural human, okay, na? Also he is not a Enforcement Director is not also a juristic person. Since it is not a juristic person, how can it file a writ petition? Writ petition is only available to the corporations, means juristic persons, right? Corporations or God or rivers, which are considered as a juristic person. Since Enforcement Director is a statutory body, it's not a statutory body and it should be considered as a state, right? Since it is a statutory body, it should be considered as a state under Article 12. Article 12 says that there is a state, for example, parliament, state legislatures, okay, all these council of ministers, okay, authorities, corporations, statutory authorities, all these considered as a state under Article 12. Since enforcement director is a statutory organization, it should be considered as a state under Article 12. And if any conflict arise between the statutory bodies, means state versus any other body, state, for example, state versus state, right? State versus state. In this case, the case should be dealt under Article 131, where only the Supreme Court has authority to take such cases and deliver a justice. And here, enforcement director has not a power and also not has a jurisdiction to file this particular writ petition against the states in the High Court. It can file a state, it can go to the Supreme Court as a state, so it can, it can go against the other state. Has a dispute, if a enforcement director has a dispute, it can go against the state in the Supreme Court, where Supreme Court has a exclusive and also original jurisdiction, right? Original jurisdiction means it can take a case on the first instance, where High Court has also original jurisdiction. But under Article 131, it has an exclusive jurisdiction. Not only original, but also has a exclusive jurisdiction where Supreme Court can deliver and no other high courts or no other courts in India can take and deliver justice in this particular issue. So these are the arguments put forward by the states with respect to this particular enforcement director filing a writ petition against both states in the respective high courts. We don't know whether going Supreme Court is going to deliver justice, means deliver verdict with respect to whether enforcement director it is juristic person or not. Okay, we have to wait and see. And next article is with respect to NATO against NATO, Trump's issue. Already think you already know the issue. Okay, this is the article with respect to Greenland, where he is saying that Greenland should be taken, and also how he is turning NATO countries against other NATO countries. Even also is turning NATO against NATO. This is the all article. First, before discussing this article, we should know what is NATO, and briefly, I think we have already, in my opinion, you have already idea, but briefly discussing is very important. Okay, North Atlantic Treaty Organization. It is a collective defense mechanism which emerged. It was emerged in 1949 with the Washington Treaty, where there were after World War II, 1945. After 1945, two countries started to emerge as superpowers in the global world order. One is USA, another one is USSR. Okay, now USSR is called as Russia. Okay, after disintegrating the Soviet Union. Okay, the USA, this is the Cold War era. Cold War era. Cold War is nothing but ideological warfare between two countries or different between two groups. USA was dominated by the idea of democracy, right? But USSR was dominated by the idea of communist ideology, right? Or socialist ideology. Now, to counter the Soviet expansion in the particular region, even in Europe, even in Middle East, even also Central Asia, to counter this particular USSR expansion, USA came up with the idea called North Atlantic Treaty Organization. In 1949, the idea was realized, and many European countries came forward and had a NATO organization. Now, this very important is that Article 5, collective defense. If any country was attacked by any other country, non-NATO country, it should be considered as a attack against all the NATO countries. That was the collective defense which is mentioned in the Article 5. This gives the power to all the NATO countries to attack a non-NATO country which attacked the NATO country. And currently there are 32 members. Currently there are 32 members. Recently 2 countries have joined. One is Finland and other is Sweden. This is the brief history of NATO. But now what is the issue? What is the issue? Now there is Greenland. Okay na? Greenland. Trump wants it. Okay na? And this Greenland is the autonomous territory of Denmark. Okay na? But the issue is that this particular Denmark country is one of the members of NATO. It is not only a member, one of the members of NATO, it is one of the founding member of NATO. Founding member of NATO. Now Trump says that NATO, I want you to help to control the NATO, to acquire the Greenland. Trump wants to use NATO to acquire Greenland, but he has forgotten that Denmark is also part of NATO, right? If he wants to attack NATO countries against Denmark, it is Denmark versus NATO. If USA, let's say for example, USA is out of NATO, he want to acquire Greenland in any other forms, military, okay, psychological, in warfare, ideological warfare, by imposing tariff, any other, okay na? Now, if USA out of NATO, all the other NATO countries should be considered as NATO, right? Only one country exit from NATO, but all the other rest of the 31 countries should be considered as NATO organization, right? If USA wants to attack on NATO, Denmark, it is part of also NATO, right? So if this is called NATO versus NATO, which is mentioned in the article. Now the point is that if USA comes out of NATO, that is very unbelievable. Why? Because if even USA comes out of NATO, there is no NATO, because USA contributes to NATO majority. You know, more than 60 to 80% of the budget of NATO comes from USA. Right? Because of that reason, when Trump started his second term, he urged all the nations, NATO nations, to increase their budget, okay, defense budget to 2%. Because he said that the burden of NATO is on USA, not on the other rest of the countries, because rest of the countries not feeling that heat. USA is majorly funding the NATO, and majorly means 37 of the bases, NATO bases in Europe was managed by the US. 37 bases is provided by the US. Approximately 80,000 soldiers, which is mentioned in the article itself, says that 80,000 soldiers are provided by the USA, and 37 bases are managed by the USA itself. This is burden on the USA itself, because that reason Trump wants all the NATO countries to support his idea of acquiring Greenland. Now presently in Greenland he has already one base, military base, so he can use that particular base to acquire Greenland and also can attack Greenland. The implications will be very devastating. There will be a trust issue, and there will be a different global world order, because if there will be a conflict between the European countries and the West, other Western countries, for example USA, the alignment will be different. The dominance of Russia, China and other Asian countries, including India, will be increased in the global world order, right? There will be a US wants to impose unipolar world order. Here USA wants to be a sole dictator of the world, sole authoritative power of the world. But other countries, for example Russia, China, India, for example Brazil, wants to have a multipolar world, right? So if this happens, if in any way Trump wants to acquire Greenland, if he done so, there will be a multipolar world order. There will be a there will be a shift in the global world order. Now, the whole Western countries, for example, UK, France, Germany, they will, shift their alliances towards the Eastern countries, for example, Russia. Since European countries treats Russia as their enemy, because of that one reason they have agreed to the USA's idea of NATO, because of Russia's fear, Russia's expansion. Now, if USA is in the same line, USA wants to have that all territories. USA wants to expand its territory. Now they have fear of not Russia. They have fear of USA. Now they will shift their ideology. They will shift their alliances towards the Eastern countries. For example, China and India, because China and India are the major emerging powers in the global order nowadays. Okay, this is all about the article which is appeared in the Hindu, and we'll jump into the next article again, Trump's issue. Just I wanted to know that because this is appearing again and again in news, so there will be I think mapping question from this particular article, so I thought I could include this. Okay, now Trump slams UK's move to hand over Chagos Island. This particular Chagos Island located in the Indian Ocean, this is Maldives. You can show that in south of the Maldives there is a Chagos archipelago, and in the, very important, there's Diego Garcia Island, which is part of the Chagos archipelago, and this is Chagos archipelago is belong to Mauritius. Mauritius is a independent island country which has emerged independent in 1960. In 1960, Mauritius emerged as independent from the British territories. British gave up their control over Mauritius island, and Mauritius declared independence. Now issue is that this Chagos archipelago is belong to Mauritius. Because of that reason, recently, to few years back, UN court, International Court of Justice, declared verdict that British should give up their islands, give up their particular Chagos archipelago to Mauritius, because this particular archipelago is belong to Mauritius. The issue is now that Britishers gave this Diego Garcia Island on lease to the USA. Diego Garcia Island, where USA has a massive military presence. Okay, na? This is the military base of USA. Diego Garcia is a military base of USA. This particular island has given on a lease, 99 years lease, to the USA by the UK government. Now issue is that Trump says that if this particular Chagos archipelago is given back to Mauritius, and how can we have presence in particular Indian Ocean? Here China and Russia wants to dominate Indian Ocean, especially China. If China wants to have a domination in Indian Ocean, we want to also have a domination in the Indian Ocean. And because of that reason, UK is giving up their land, Chagos archipelago, to Mauritius. That is the reason we want to have a Greenland. Okay, now Trump saying that if you want to give up Chagos archipelago, that is one of the concerns of the US's national security. Okay, that keep it aside. Because you are giving up Chagos Island, we want a Greenland. So we want to establish security and more security region in the Arctic region. We want to establish a strategic security in the Arctic region. Okay, we want to give up the Indian Ocean, but we want Greenland at any cost. There was a linkage between this particular article and the previous article. That's why I included the both articles to show that how the geopolitical world order is linked so much, beyond our imagination. And also, I wanted to show that this can be asked in this prelims examination in 2026 with respect to mapping. Okay, na? These are the very important articles which are appeared in the today's in the newspaper. I think. Okay, na? Okay, this is it for today. If you have any doubts, I'll address them and okay, na?